What is the craziest paranormal experience you've had? We were visiting my in-laws around Christmas and we were chatting in their den, having some drinks and catching up. They had a Christmas tree in the corner of the den. Nobody was sitting near it. My husband and father-in-law were sitting in lounge chairs and I was sitting with my mother-in-law on the couch on the opposite side of the tree. The two dogs were napping between us. We were all at least 6 feet away from the tree. All of a sudden their Christmas tree begins to violently shake. Like someone grabbed the trunk and was shaking dust off of it. A few ornaments fell to the ground and then it stopped. It shook for a good 10 seconds. The thing is, we were the only 4 in the house, the dogs were sleeping on the couch with us, the tree had been up for at least a week so no woodland creatures hiding in it and nothing else in the house shook. No glass clinking, no other rumbling sounds, just the tree. We checked the news to see if there was an earthquake, we checked online, pre-smartphones, and the newspapers and no reports of an earthquake. We also live in an area where earthquakes are rare. So I have no clue what shook the damn tree. We all saw it, the dogs slept through it. They did not give a F. All these stories about the dog warning or protecting people and you got 2 sleepy dogs who gave bout no ghost lol. It was probably just a nearby JavaScript developer optimizing their code. My dad's gun safe slammed shut and I was the only one home and laying on my bed. Were you falling asleep? I've had similar loud noises happen when dozing off, I guess it occasionally happens. That's actually one of the creepiest ones I've heard. Like someone had just grabbed a weapon. I would definitely grab mine and clear the entire house top to bottom thoroughly. Cross-posted answer from another sub asking a similar question, might as well add mine to the bunch. I actually have 2 standouts but I'll just start with one. I always had the terrible nightmares as a child so I'm sure there were plenty of episodes but this one happened in my mid-20s and was terrifying. I was house sitting for my parents at my childhood home, no big deal. They have a couple little whiny dogs that refused to settle down and sleep without my dad since they slept with him every night. By about night 3 I couldn't take it anymore and decided to sleep in my dad's room on the bed with them. I was sleeping on the couch prior to this and in all the years I lived there never slept in that room. In fact I specially picked the other bedroom as a child even though it was visibly bigger and has a beautiful lake view. My parents said I refused to take it. About 2 or 3 in the morning I woke up to that low guttural growl dogs have that instantly makes your hair stand up. Keep in mind these are little yappy dogs that bark constantly, but this was something entirely different. The room was cold as fuck, this is mid-July in the tropics so like 95 outside, and even though I'd been dead asleep, I just knew something was wrong. Bad wrong. Both dogs are growling non-stop so I roll over and halfway open my eyes and see these 2 little kids in what look like vintage baseball uniforms. I'm talking like turn of the century Victorian age type shit. There was nothing inherently scary about how they appeared but the feeling of dread was almost indescribable. They are just looking at me but somehow I knew that whatever these were, they were evil for lack of a better word. I honestly don't even know how to explain it, but I just knew that something was very wrong with whatever I was seeing. The absolutely primal terror feeling told me this was not the harmless dream variety. I couldn't stop looking though, I swear I blinked 100 times trying to convince myself it was just a night terror until one half smiled at me. It was just a smile, but at the same time it was like malicious and somehow just off. I just got this overwhelming urge that told me stop looking, close my eyes, pray hard, and do it now. You have to understand I am very much not the religious or church type, and I just squeezed my eyes shut and prayed out loud like I never had in my life for what felt like forever. It finally passed and about an hour later the dogs calmed down. As soon as I felt like it was safe to get out of that room I called my parents and made them cut their backer short and come home that day. My brother sleeps in there every night still with no problem, but something is wrong with that room. I'm not a big fan of the whole evil tropes, but I honestly don't have a better word for it. Whatever was there that night was evil. You did the right thing to stop looking and pray. Things like that can only be fought by calling on whatever is affiliated with their creation. Did the dogs continue barking/growling as you prayed? Did the girls make any noise? What kind of smile was it? What color were their eyes? Were they identical? Did they move at all? Did you speak to them or them to you? This sounds crazy but is 100% true, at least my narrative. I used to live in a mobile home trailer park growing up. There was a hallway that went from one end of the trailer to the other, with the bedrooms coming off it on one side. My bed was on the wall opposite the hallway, so I could see into the hallway but not down either side. When I was about maybe 6 to 8 years old, if I stayed awake after my dad went to sleep and stared at the doorway, I would start to be able to make out a hand stretching from beyond the doorway in the hall, from the right side of the door to the left. The longer I looked, the more of the hand would appear until eventually over the course of a few minutes I could see a red and white striped shirt/sweater sleeve. If I continued to stare, after a longer period, the body of a boy would appear in the doorway. I specifically remember hiding under the covers most nights when this would happen, mostly at the first sight of him. I was never antagonized further than him slowly moving, facing my bed, from the right side of the door to the left, and if I continued to stare he would eventually disappear beyond the left threshold. We moved out of that trailer into a home when I had just turned 9 and that was the end of it. I never really thought about it, and I never told my dad or anyone else about it because by that time I had already chalked it up to just seeing things, and had thought it was my imagination. I'm sure it probably was. About 15 to 20 years later, my dad and I were talking about his best friend that had lived next door, but sadly just passed away. We started talking about our trailer and the older lady that had moved in after us. My dad said something like, "Funny enough, Dad's friend told me a few years ago that that woman used to see a little boy in a red and white shirt, like a ghost or something." I was obviously taken aback and told him about what I had seen almost every night for a few years, and we were both just a bit shocked at what that might mean. Never experienced anything else, but that completely stumps me. Was he just sliding across the floor with one arm stretched out? This one really scared me, like made my heart drop. It reminds me of my friend and her brother. They used to say when they were kids they would see a hand coming out of their closet. She used to say they thought it was an old lady. Chalked it up to being kids scaring themselves at night, but that story, and yours, gave me major chills. I fell asleep in a hospital waiting room and I was waking up with my eyes closed, when I felt someone tapping on my head, like fingers playing a piano. I opened my eyes and nobody was there. Think, kid, think. Well, at least it wasn't the percussionist. A buddy and I saw, as clear as possibly could be, a white orb appear out of the air, slowly float up through the trees, and disappear. I can explain the entire thing in detail if anyone is interested. I'm not a superstitious or religious person, but I've never heard a good scientific explanation. Ball lightning might be the best possible explanation. Friend of mine has described something similar. He and his uncle observed off the coast of Hawaii, came out of the water and then floated up into the sky. I've read a number of other reports of mysterious orbs of light seen floating in wooded areas, including a few stories where the witnesses were able to inspect the lights very closely. I'm inclined that there's some kind of electrical phenomenon. I've typed it up several times on this sub, so I'll make it quick. Home Alone. Hear my brother's voice in the attic calling my name. Go check it out, find the source. It's a malfunctioning yak back in a box. He obviously recorded years ago, claims not to remember. The light in the attic pops and goes out. Almost break my leg getting out of there. Sat in the driveway till my parents got home. I don't consider it paranormal, and all rational explanations, but I felt a deep sense of dread up there, like I was about to be harmed. At least it wasn't a Furby lol voice recording. Kids' toys are just inherently cursed. Username kind of checks out lol. Subscribe for more hot Reddit takes in your inbox, guaranteed.